Hull's out there on that court at all times. Lexie Hull took to Sophie Cunningham's Show Me Something podcast, and she addressed the truth about being a part of Caitlin Clark's team. And make no mistake about it, Lexie Hull wants to stay. Lexie Hull wants to stay, guys. She does not want to go anywhere. She is looking to return to Caitlin Clark and the Indiana.
Picture this. You wake up and suddenly your job has transformed into the most insane sports spectacle anyone has ever witnessed. Gone are the quiet venues and peaceful atmospheres. Now you're dealing with thunderous crowds of 18,000 fans losing their minds every single night. Private jets everywhere. Security teams following your every move. Cameras stalking you at hotels. Sports shows debating your every breath on live television. This is what life became for the Indiana Fever. This is the complete chaos that surrounds the Caitlin Clark phenomenon. But while everyone focuses obsessively on that number 22 jersey, there's another story brewing behind the scenes. What's it really like being teammates with someone who's basically rewriting basketball history? Living in that locker room, sharing that court, dealing with pressure most athletes never experience. We've listened to all the hot takes from TV personalities. We've seen the social media wars. We've heard analysts screaming their opinions at each other for hours. But the people actually living this experience every day, their voices have been drowned out by all the noise that just changed. Lexie Hull stepped forward. The deadly shooter and defensive specialist who's become one of Clark's tightest allies just opened up completely. Her take on what this whirlwind season actually felt like from the inside is going to change how you see everything about this team.
In front of 2,000 people in an empty gym to now every game is sold out at 18,000 plus every single night, home and away. That is a big change. Lexie Hull felt that change immediately.
It might be. It might be. Yeah. But it's like that.
Let's rewind and get some perspective on just how massive this shift really was. We need to understand where this franchise was before everything exploded. Here's the reality check. The Indiana Fever were stuck at the bottom of the league for years. They were grinding through one of the most painful rebuilds you could imagine. Lexie Hull came into this mess as the 6th pick in 2022. Stanford championship background, serious basketball credentials. But making that jump from college success to professional relevance, that's a brutal transition for most players. Hull spent 2 full seasons watching this team battle just to stay competitive. They'd fight tooth and nail every game, but the victories were rare. Media attention was basically zero. Then draft lottery luck struck twice. First, they landed the dominant force that is Aaliyah Boston. Then the earthquake hit when Caitlin Clark joined the roster. Everything changed in an instant. The Fever went from being completely ignored to becoming the biggest story in American sports culture. This transformation was absolutely violent in how quickly it happened. For players like Hull, who'd been grinding in anonymity, nothing could have prepared them for what came next. Every missed shot became a 3-day news cycle. Every hard foul on Clark turned into a national controversy. Every coaching decision got analyzed by millions of people who'd never watched women's basketball before in their lives. It's easy to see the sold-out crowds and luxury travel and think these players hit the jackpot. But playing under that kind of microscope, the mental pressure is absolutely crushing. You're not just playing basketball anymore. You're performing in a cultural event that's bigger than sports. If you can't handle that intensity, it will destroy you completely. Instead of cracking under all that weight, Lexie Hull turned it into her greatest weapon.
Go do their thing, but when you have players that are gonna go take the charge, like, you're just so tough, and they're just like, people appreciate it, and when you have sold out crowds everywhere you go, it's just appreciated, and it feels good as players.
Now, let's be real here. Would anybody be checking for Lexie Hull had she not been Caitlin Clark's teammate? Now, we love Lexie Hull. We want her here to stay. But that goes to show the...
Once you start actually winning games and those crowds keep growing, your whole world shifts completely. Professional basketball has this thing called gravity. The best players create it naturally. Curry has it. LeBron has it. The second Caitlin Clark touched a WNBA court, her gravitational pull was unlike anything this league had seen before. Defensive coordinators were having nightmares about those deep three-pointers. They'd pressure her full court, Send double teams the moment she crossed half court. Commit 2 defenders to her constantly. Basketball is pure math though. When you trap the point guard with 2 players, someone else is getting a clean look. But being open and actually capitalizing on those opportunities? Completely different skills. Early in the season, Indiana struggled badly with spacing. Teams would dare the other players to shoot, pack the paint against Boston, send constant pressure at Clark from the perimeter. The Fever desperately needed someone to make defenses pay for focusing so heavily on their star. That's where Lexie Hull completely took over. All those years learning under Tara Vanderveer at Stanford kicked in immediately. Hull recognized exactly what playing with Clark meant from a strategic standpoint. Run the floor hard in transition, and Clark will find you perfectly. Relocate to the corner when she drives, and the ball will hit your hands in perfect shooting position. Hull embraced becoming the ultimate 3-and-D specialist. On defense, she transformed into an absolute terror, taking the toughest perimeter assignments every single night, fighting through screens constantly, disrupting passing lanes, diving for loose balls without any regard for her body. Offensively, she became one of the most lethal shooters in the entire league. Her 3-point percentage jumped to elite territory, making her one of the most efficient spot-up threats in women's basketball. When Hull talks about their partnership, you hear complete trust between 2 elite competitors. This wasn't some forced chemistry experiment. This was pure basketball harmony developing naturally. The moment Hull started punishing teams for doubling Clark, Indiana's entire offensive system opened up beautifully. But their connection runs so much deeper than just basketball strategy. The most revealing part of Hull's honesty about this whole experience has nothing to do with game plans or statistics.
I wanted to reach for, and I feel like now with the social media and just even like TV and the accessibility for people, like they see us and they can actually like have these dreams so much earlier. And to be one of those people is really special.
She going to games. Let's be real. Lexie Hull's first however many years in the league prior to Caitlin getting there, do you think she ever looked in the stands and saw anybody wearing a number 10 Lexie Hull jersey that wasn't a family member?
If you only listened to sports media coverage, you'd think the Fever locker room was completely toxic. All season long, talking heads pushed narratives about jealousy and resentment. They wanted everyone to believe veteran players hated the rookies, that Clark was isolated and alone on this team. But if you actually watched how this team interacted, if you paid attention to their genuine chemistry, the real story was completely different. Lexie Hull is living proof that all those toxic narratives were completely manufactured for clicks and ratings. Hull and Clark developed a friendship that became the emotional foundation for this entire franchise. They became road trip partners, social media collaborators, and genuinely close friends. During a season filled with incredible pressure and constant scrutiny, their authentic bond became a refuge from all the chaos. That's the honest truth the sports world needed to hear. While analysts and television studios were trying to create drama for better ratings, Hull and her teammates were building an unbreakable wall of protection around their point guard. Hull understands something fundamental about championship teams. You cannot win anything meaningful if your locker room is divided and dysfunctional.
It's super important, guys. I know, listen, man, I know they want to keep Kelsey, but look, long term, we can keep Tres Leches together with Aaliyah Boston. I'm all in, man. I'm all in, man. Lexie Hull, nothing but glowing things to say about being a part of this Indiana Fever team and organization, especially with the upgrades and the changes since the arrival of the GOAT, Caitlin Clark. She wants to run it back. Make no mistake about it. Give Lexie Hull a 3-year deal.
She watched Caitlin take an absolute beating on the court every single night. Cheap shots, flagrant fouls, physical play designed specifically to intimidate and break down the rookie. How did Hull respond to seeing her teammate get targeted like that? She immediately became the team's enforcer. Anytime opposing players got too physical with Clark, Hull was the first person in their face, always the first one helping her point guard up off the floor. She wasn't just protecting a teammate. She was protecting the future of this entire organization. Hull's willingness to handle the dirty work, absorb contact, and publicly support Clark in interviews helped shut down all the toxic noise surrounding this team. She proved definitively that the Clark effect isn't about one player being bigger than everyone else. It's about a collective group of women rising together to meet this unprecedented moment in sports history. By the time their historic season ended, the Indiana Fever had officially announced themselves on the biggest stage. They shattered viewership records across every platform, destroyed attendance records in every arena they played. Most importantly, they proved they belonged in serious championship conversations. But massive success in professional sports brings complicated new challenges immediately. WNBA off-seasons are notoriously chaotic and unpredictable. Free agency periods, expansion drafts, players leaving for overseas opportunities or new leagues. Team rosters can get completely dismantled overnight. For Hull, her incredible breakout performance meant she suddenly had serious leverage. She proved her elite value to every team in the league. Any championship contender would desperately want a lockdown defender who shoots over 40% from deep range. So the big question became obvious. What would she choose to do next? Would she chase a potentially bigger opportunity away from all this media attention? Her answer was as direct and loyal as her playing style. We absolutely want to keep building this thing. Coming back to Indiana wasn't just a business decision for Hull. It was a statement about unfinished business, a declaration to the rest of the league that what they started in Indianapolis is far from complete. Hull isn't returning to ride someone else's success. She's coming back to finish what this core group started together. When you look at the foundation they've built, it should terrify every other team in this league. You've got Boston's dominant interior presence, Mitchell's explosive scoring ability, Clark's unprecedented playmaking vision, and Hull as the glue holding everything together on the perimeter. This isn't just a team with potential anymore. This is a battle-tested group with championship-level ceiling. Hull knows the chemistry they forged during last season's media circus cannot be replicated anywhere else. They survived the hardest part of this journey already. They learned how to play elite basketball under the brightest lights in the world. Now it's time to go hunting for a WNBA championship. Hull's refreshing honesty destroys every fake narrative that surrounded the Indiana Fever. It reminds us that behind all the television ratings, viral social media posts, and endless daily debates, these are real athletes navigating completely uncharted territory in women's sports. The Caitlin Clark phenomenon changed the WNBA forever. It brought money, attention, and crushing pressure, but it also revealed the true character of the players standing right beside her. Hull could have easily disappeared into the background, could have let the pressure of this new era overwhelm her completely. Instead, she stepped directly into the spotlight, knocked down corner three-pointers, and declared to the world that Indiana is definitely not a one-woman show. They're a sisterhood, a collective force that's ready to dominate this league. As we look ahead, one thing is absolutely certain. The rest of the WNBA better be prepared. Because Clark has the basketball, Hull is waiting in the corner, and the Indiana Fever are just getting started.